We've been anticipating these notorious tides, but it's not until you get them completely wrong.
Yeah, so the tide's turned and it's coming against us.
That you realise how sticky of a situation you can get yourself in.
Oh, this is not nice.
This week is all about lessons. Lesson number 1, obey the Northern Territory tides or get punished without mercy.
When we're not surfing on one of these waves, we're doing about 1.8 to 2 knots.
These magnificent tides present some unique challenges that we will be forced to come face to face with over the next couple of days. 3 to be exact. 2 of which will act as a warm-up before the grand finale, the Gugari Rip, otherwise known as the hole in the wall, which is quite a modest description of what feels like you're sailing through rapids towards an indistinct crack in a cliff.
It literally just looks like we're heading for just a rock wall and you can barely see the gap.
After arriving in the Northern Territory, we've run some errands, got ahead in uni, and rectified the carrot that was holding us above waterline.
He looks rank.
He looks rancid.
It's now time to leave the small civilization of Gove and set sail west, deeper into the wilderness of the Northern Territory.
Right, so soap's up on deck, putting some more tape on the mainsail.
It's like a leaving ritual that we do now.
But yeah, we're leaving Gove. We've been here about a week and a half and we pretty much haven't left the boat. We've just been studying. It's well and truly creeping up on exam time and we've decided to make the mad dash to Darwin in order to like finalise our university season there.
Yep, we're trying to complete our degrees while sailing a lap of Australia, and we're finding that this season we're having to do mad dashes between the internet hotspots, then sitting for some time to play catch up and prepare ourselves for another mad dash between reception. We have 450 miles to cover to Darwin, while also making sure we do some sightseeing before settling in for finals and exams in a couple of weeks' time. So this is just the beginning of another mad dash.
We are officially underway. We've lifted anchor, we've potted out here, we've just turned the engine off and we are now sailing. I'm pretty sure that we saw a pilot whale on our way out here, which was a massive surprise and shock. Okay, this we did not, obviously not have the time to get the camera out. This massive whale out of nowhere, I didn't even know there was whales up here, just literally came to the surface right next to us, literally right there, and then dove underneath us and went off that way. I'm shaking, it gave me such a fright. I was like, what the f is that?
It was like an orca attacking.
Yeah, honestly, because there's been so many orca attacks I've seen online, I was like, oh my god, it's an orca, but I don't think there's orcas up here. I have no idea what type of marine mammal that was. That was huge, and what the f, that was crazy. I don't know what it was doing, but we are heading to Wessel Island at this stage. We've got a couple of 2 really narrow sort of passes to go through in between islands, which wouldn't be a problem normally, but as you might know, the tides up here are really gnarly. So we really have to time those little sections to get to where we want to go. Where at the moment it's coming in, it's a flood tide at the moment, and it will be changing to an outgoing tide at around 12 o'clock. So we're hoping to get there for around slack and then ride the tide up through those little passages between the islands. So yes, that's what we're doing today. Simon's just made sandwiches and it's nice to be back on the water.
Excruciatingly tired, if I'm honest.
What did we do last night?
We watched hours and hours and hours of Stranger Things.
Until 1 in the morning.
Yeah. We finished it, it was brilliant.
It was so good.
Absolutely brilliant, but Oh, I'm so tired. We're just like, let's watch movies, we got internet, we won't have internet for ages, so yeah.
Yeehaw! The next little bit of our journey of over the top is totally unfamiliar territory now.
There is much to learn about the Northern Territory coast, but there's one thing we're getting familiar with.
It's so crazy. This morning we noticed that the boat was covered in red dirt. Like all of our halyards and rigging are just covered. Like you touch a halyard and your hands will get red dirt on them. And then I just looked behind and our ladder is also covered in red dirt. It's amazing. We can't get it off us. So it just must blow off the land, and yeah, we're covered in it.
Karma's getting a taste for being life as a ginger.
Life as a ginger.
Life as a ginger.
The good life.
The good, yeah, that's it, the good life.
Before Slim gets a massive fish, we want to say a huge thank you to the legends at Naming This Later for sponsoring this week's video. This local Aussie brand is proving that sustainability is hot by creating groovy and versatile rugs that are made from 100% recycled cotton. Over the last year, we've put these awesome rugs to the test, and they've proven themselves fit for any adventure. Dragging them up and down waterfalls and across the sand of many a beach, these rugs have allowed us to bring comfort into the wild. But they've also brightened up Nakama's interior, covering our aging upholstery and making her feel like home, which is so important when you're always on the move. If you use our code SLIMANDSOF, you'll get $15 off your order, and don't forget, you're already getting 2 for 1 because all of these beautiful rugs are reversible. The hardest part is picking.
Oh, we're on!
It's big, whatever it is, definitely big.
Really?
Yeah, look at it.
Do you want me to slow down at all?
Maybe we'll pull some heading in. Definitely the biggest fish we've ever caught.
Really?
Yeah. That was full lock, just peeling line off. Like.
And then what happened?
It got off.
No! Damn, so that fish got off, but we're pretty sure it was something big and we have no idea what it was.
That was by far the biggest fish I've ever had on, without a doubt.
Regardless of not getting that fish in, we are just stoked to be off the laptops and back on the ocean.
Man, it's just a beautiful day out here. We're just really appreciating being back out on the water, because what you don't see is us sitting on our laptops for 2 weeks straight. So it has been a while since our last sail, but you don't see that because who wants to watch us sitting on laptops for 2 weeks straight? It even drives us crazy, so nobody wants to see that.
This beauty of a day is absolutely contagious, and we can't help but boogie. But such is sailing, soon our joy will be zapped and we will be feeling pretty anxious. So let's soak up this good while it lasts.
We're slowly coming up on Cape Wilberforce now. What a name, Wilberforce. Wilberforce.
This means we're coming up on our first passage, and it's looking like we'll be there bang on time for the change of tide. As we creep towards Cape Wilberforce, we're starting to notice a few signs that things might not go the way we intended.
Just coming around the Cape and towards this little passage, you can definitely start to notice some water turbulence, I suppose. It's just like a bit wishy-washy. It's definitely changed a little bit. the engine on because we just completely lost speed as we turned downwind and we were just getting sloshed around doing 3 knots. Not too sure just yet if we got the tide right. The sea state here is just like not very nice at all. It's getting really yuck and choppy.
Generally speaking, without interference, waves tend to roll, and 9 times out of 10 from the direction the wind is currently or has recently been blowing. These waves have started peaking, and so have we.
Yeah.
But the wave's behaviour shows that there is a force pushing against their direction, making for some unnerving sailing and begging the question, have we messed up the tides? Which is what we're trying to figure out here. If the tides were doing what we expected, they should be turning in our favour now, giving us a gentle push and leaving us enough time to get through the second passage on the same tidal flow.
I have a feeling we might have a little bit of tide running against us at the moment because the swell is sticking up and there's just white caps everywhere.
Part of us is wondering maybe we've just rocked up a little too early.
I don't get it, baby. I don't get it. What is going on?
Wait,
Like
what time was high tide?
11:40 here.
Yeah, so the tide's turned and it's coming against us.
A few thoughts are running through our minds as to what the next step will be. As the tide has only just turned, at this stage we're still making ground. Slowly, but at least not going backwards yet. We are wondering if we've got enough time to make it through the passage before the tide starts accelerating. Fortunately, today is a 3-metre tide.
This is not nice. When we're not surfing on one of these waves, we're doing about 1.8 to 2 knots. At least it's not 1 knot or lower than 1 knot. We're just a little bit worried if this is it now, what it's going to be like when we're actually in the middle of the 2 islands. This is not nice.
We are keeping our fingers and toes crossed we can keep up the forward momentum, as looking behind us, we can see the ocean state is getting increasingly ugly. It's one thing to be going with this peaky swell, but going against it definitely has us concerned. Our next thought is, if we can't complete plan A and make it through the passage, we might have to pull a spontaneous overnight sail and head north around the top of this island group. This is plan B. And plan C, which would be a reluctant last resort, would be to let this tide push us back to Gove through this horrible swell. There's a good reason why we got this wrong, and if you're heading this way, you definitely need to know this crucial bit of information. We will get to that in just a sec. Right now, we've got to deal with the situation at hand.
You always get told, don't mess up the tides up north, and you know that. But you know that you're going to learn, and it's going to be a slow learning process, like everything is. We're learning something today.
I don't know if you can see that, but right now here seems to have just flattened out a little bit and there's not those steep white cappy waves anymore.
Still doing... we are still doing 2 knots. We dropped below the 2s for a second there at the end of those white caps, and we were like, that was about as close to pulling out, I reckon, as we've gotten so far. We're getting pretty close to the tightest point of the channel. The swell's chilled out a little bit and we're doing 3 knots at the moment. So surfing down waves at 3.5 and sitting in troughs at 2. So yeah, anything above 2 knots, I'm happy.
Oh, welcome to the Northern Territory, hey? What the? Alright, this is it. We're going between the 2 islands now. We're sitting on about 3.5 knots. The waves have definitely dissipated a little bit. It's sort of just now very kind of like currenty, rippy water, but there's not those steep, peaky waves. So we're slowly chugging through, which is good because I don't know if I'd like to turn around and head back out through that. That would be just horrible. Anyway, I think we might have to reevaluate our plans of where we're going to stay tonight because I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make it to our next stop because we kind of messed up the tides.
We are certain we only just made it through as it was so early in the change of tide. We're not confident we can pull off the same move for the second passage we plan to go through. I think we also just need a second to breathe too. Luckily, there's no shortage of anchorages around here, so we will nestle into Elizabeth Bay for the night instead.
It's such a shame that we didn't really get to enjoy that very much because we were so stressed about the tide and everything, but it is actually really stunning. These cliffs are just something, I don't know what I expected of the Northern Territory, but I don't know if I expected this. It's just really beautiful.
We truly did try to plan our timings with the tides in this area.
We planned these tides today, I'll tell you. That's
we tried so hard to plan these because I knew it wouldn't be fun if we got it wrong, and I was like, I'm honestly surprised we made it through because I really didn't think that, you know, everything that we've heard, people are saying, you know, if they got the tides wrong, they would be like going backwards. So I'm really surprised we did get through.
This is where it gets confusing. The first passage off Cape Wilberforce we now know is a northbound flood tide. So we copped its ebb flow on the nose. The reason why we got this mixed up was that we spent so much time researching our timings for the hole in the wall. At just over 100 meters wide at its narrowest point, the Gugari Rip forces tidal currents through that reach 10 knots on spring tides. But the catch is, and this is where we got muddled up, is that the tidal flow through this narrow crack runs in exactly the opposite direction of the usual rule in the Arafura Sea. So passages 1 and 2 floods north and ebbs south, but passage number 3, the Gugari Rip, floods south and ebbs north, which to us is mind-blowing considering the hole in the wall is only about 20 miles away. We made the mistake of assuming they all flowed in the same direction.
I went for a little explore over here before when Soph was flying the drone, and I just wanted to see if potentially there might be some fishing there. Looks like there may be, but I found something even way cooler on my way over there, and I can't wait to show you. So, whoa. I was walking along and I found a Crocs head. I kind of want it.
I don't know, like is it someone's Crocs head?
I know, because it's been tied, like, but they've tied its mouth.
Maybe they tied it when it was alive and then it's just been tied up like that and then it died and it's still tied.
How dog is that though?
Do you think that's...
For it to starve?
I don't know, it's a mystery.
It is a mystery. It's my mystery Croc. These are teeth from it, we can keep them.
We should keep some teeth.
We can have the teeth.
Yeah, nobody will know a tooth is missing. So yes, we still have not seen an alive croc, but we have seen one dead croc skull. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be an alive croc skull, but this little area is quite nice. And yeah, well, there is some fish action. We're gonna have a little flick off a rock and see if we can get anything.
I would not recommend using oysters as finger grips. Good casting vantage point though.
Well, that was a little bit of a failed mission, but it wasn't because we found a croc head and some crabs and got to see this little beach. What'd you find?
Found the alco.
No way.
These guys were hunting for something big. They probably got something big but didn't get it given how thick their line was. I don't even know if I'd be game to... No, I'll catch something huge with it. Massive.
It's funny how things work out. Maybe everything does happen for a reason. It was nice to slow down and spend an afternoon here. We even ran into some other yachties, crazy enough to be cruising these areas. They were also completing a circumnavigation, but heading in the opposite direction. So we shared a meal and some tips with each other before getting home in time for the evening show.
Squid! Look at the shark, just there. Oh! Oh my god!
What kind of shark is that? That's a decent shark.
This is the reason we installed floodlights in the cockpit.
Oh!
That's definitely not a reef shark.
That was super fun. It's always really hard to show you anything at night, but I'm sure you get the gist of it.
This was part 1, the warm-up of negotiating the hole in the wall. So make sure to tune in next week as we put our new tidal knowledge to the test and have another crack at the Gugari Rip. It's the scariest, most beautiful thing we've done.
This Northern Territory thing is no relaxing situation.
And spoiler alert, we make it through and showcase one of the most spectacular cruising grounds in the Northern Territory.
Oh, you are big!
A massive thanks to our patrons for making these videos possible, and also to Naming This Later for jumping on board and sponsoring this video. If you've enjoyed the episode and want to continue following our journey around this very large island, then hit that subscribe button. Cheers guys, we will see you all next week.